Hey there, welcome back. I'm Alex Brady with Happiness at Work, and this is our continuing series, Leverage the Science of Happiness to Increase Performance, Productivity, and Profitability. If you've got this book, great. These videos are just intended to supplement and help you move along with the tips. If you don't have the book and you want it, go to happinessatworknow.com and download your copy for free. Now, today we are on tip 21, and tip 21 is goal setting and planning. Now, you've probably set goals. You're a leader. You've done this many times in your life. But there are different ways to set goals, and depending on how you do it, the results can be very different. So this particular way of setting a goal has been proven to essentially help people better accomplish what they set out to do. And it also increases their life satisfaction, because the way we're going to talk about this is we break it down into small steps. So instead of having these huge goals that just seem insurmountable at times, we're going to break things down into very manageable, digestible chunks. So there's a few steps to this. So in and of itself, there's a few steps. So the first thing is we got to write down your personal and professional goals, whatever you've got for the next 3 to 6 months, right? So we're going to look out, not totally short-term horizon, but not long-term either. So kind of mid-range, short to mid-range horizon, okay? So a quarter, a couple of quarters. That's the first thing. Write out the goals, number one. Number two, look at each goal and identify the obstacles that are likely to stop you, that are going to become barriers to you actually achieving that goal. Now, this is incredibly important because you and I both know that when we set goals, we have great intentions, but not everybody achieves their goals. Now, there's many reasons for that, but one of the biggest ones is that we get sidetracked, we get distracted, whatever, or things come up that just get in our way, and we have these barriers. We can't overcome obstacles to actually get to our goals. So we can't always anticipate all the obstacles, but we sure can anticipate several. So you're going to do that. You're going to actually anticipate the obstacles, and then step number 3, what is your plan to make sure that you deal with those obstacles, either proactively so they don't happen, or reactively in case they do happen? What is your plan to essentially deal with these obstacles that are going to stand in your way between you and getting to your goal where you want to go? So that's step number 3. Now, step number 4 is, again, looking at each goal and breaking it down. Okay, what do I actually need to do? What are the actual steps that I need to accomplish to actually get to that end goal? Because we write these goals down and they're huge. So let me give you an example. You want to write a book, okay? A lot of people want to write a book. I think it's something that the stats are something like, it's like 85–90% of the population wants to write a book. You know how many people have? About 3%. So clearly there are obstacles in the way. And so your goal, you'd write down, I want to write a book. I'm going to write a book this year. Okay, great goal. What are my obstacles to getting there? Well, the big one is time, right? I mean, you have to sit down and actually write that book. So scheduling time, finding time is an obstacle. Also, being consistent. If we don't want to write the book that day, we don't feel like it, let's be honest, sometimes we don't, that's going to get in our way. So that's another obstacle, right? Is not feeling like you want to do it. What are you going to do about that? How are you going to motivate yourself to overcome that, right? So you see, we've got the goal, we've identified some of the obstacles, and there are many more. I'm just giving you a few examples. We're identifying, okay, how are we going to overcome them? So perhaps on days where you don't feel like doing it, you give yourself some kind of reward. Okay, if I sit down and I write write for my 30 minutes that I have scheduled today, then I can what? Go get my nails done. I can do something that I really want to do that feels like I got pampered or I got rewarded in some way, right? So and that'll all depend on how you motivate yourself, right? Everybody motivates slightly differently. So I'm giving you just, again, a simple example. So we've got a goal, we've identified some obstacles, we've identified some ways that we might be able to overcome those obstacles. And then we've got to look at the goal and break it down to steps. So write a book is not a step. It's a big goal, and there are multiple steps involved in that, right? I mean, okay, first step, decide on the topic. Second step, map out the outline. Third step, write chapter 1. Fourth step, write chapter 2. I mean, writing each chapter is a step, but you could even break down that down further and say, okay, within the chapter, I'm going to cover these 3 sections. And so each of those sections becomes a step. So you have to be very realistic about what exactly needs to go into this goal. And I mean, in terms of writing a book, it's not just about writing it, okay? It's about getting the cover designed. It's about deciding how to publish, when you're going to publish, how you're going to market it. There are multiple levels to this, not just the actual act of writing it, okay? So you've got to break down into steps. What exactly am I doing? And the reason that works so well is because as you complete each step, you feel a sense of accomplishment and you see the progress, because so often we're like, either you've written the book or you haven't. When you haven't, you feel bad. When you feel bad, you don't necessarily want to do much, right? It's a downward spiral. But if you look at progress and you monitor progress, which is exactly how this goal setting plan works, it's a totally different story, because you can say, wow, I've already completed 3 steps on my journey to get this book done. That is awesome. I'm going for step number 4 tomorrow. How many steps can I get done by the end of the month, right? And that brings me to my last point, which is each step should have a date, a completion date on it. By what date are you going to complete that task? And so that as well gives you incentive to work towards, right? It helps you map out your timeline. It helps you know where you're at. If you miss one, I mean, okay, we're all human, we miss them, but then you either going to make it up, or you know that your timeline for when the goal will be complete is slightly altered, right? It's been pushed back a little bit. That's okay, but it's good for us to know that, so that we don't get frustrated that, we wanted to get the book written in 3 months, but we weren't as consistent on a few of the steps, or we hadn't anticipated some obstacles, and some of our timelines got thrown off on some of our steps. Well, gee, then we shouldn't be upset if we didn't write the book in 3 months. Maybe it's going to take us 4 months or 5 months. And so you can basically overcome all these kind of detractors or these demotivators that happen on the path to creating and accomplishing a goal. So this is tip number 21, goal setting and planning. So write out your goals, identify the obstacles, come up with a plan for how to deal with the obstacles, break each goal down into specific manageable steps, and mark the date for when each one needs to be completed. Those are your steps right now in terms of goal setting. All right, so this is tip number 21 in our ongoing series, Leverage the Science of Happiness to Increase Performance, Productivity, and Profitability. I'm Alex Brady with Happiness at Work, and I will see you in tip number 22.